Bismillah, alhamdulillah, sallallahu. May Allah accept from us and you, inshallah. So, we were talking about the prohibition from asking forgiveness for someone who has passed away in a state of disbelief. There's a question at the bottom of the slide there. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this prohibition? Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I mean,
He's already made his wind up about the non-believers.
But why would he tell us to not make that dua? Why wouldn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let us make the dua but ignore us? Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us don't ask for this? He doesn't have to give it. Huh?
He wouldn't ignore you.
Because he wouldn't ignore you. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elsewhere in the Quran he says, Id'uni astajib lakum. Ask of me, I will respond to you. It's a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Id'uni astajib lakum. It's a command first of all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say if you ask of me. He says ask of me. Id'uni. Make dua to me. That's a command. And after that, he says astajib lakum. I will respond to me. He doesn't even say ask of me and after that I will respond to you. He says ask of me, I will respond to you. Id'uni astajib lakum. So it's a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He's always going to respond to your dua every single time. Let me ask you this. If you love someone, would you ignore them? If someone says that they love you, is it suitable for them to ignore you if they say that they love you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want to ignore you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you ask of Him, He will respond to you, but He also says, don't ask for this. Instead, do da'wah while you're alive. Do da'wah while you're alive. It's not as difficult as you think. Shaitan makes you think that da'wah is difficult because he doesn't want you to do it. Shaitan doesn't want you to do it. That's counterproductive for his whole mission in his life, right? So you have to outsmart him. You have to do it no matter what. You have to do it no matter what. I used to hang out with a brother. If he saw someone with a flat tire, he would stop and change the tire. He wouldn't say anything. He'd just say, hi, how you going? Do you need a hand? And he would change the whole tire. He wouldn't say anything the whole time he was working. Right at the end, he would say, I stopped to help you because I'm a Muslim. My religion tells me to help people. See you later. And he would drive off. Just imagine if someone had a flat tire and that happened to them. And then 10 years later, you don't have a flat tire that often these days. 10 years later, they had another flat tire and that happened again. Just imagine that. Imagine the impression that that would give of Muslims. Like, man, these are amazing people. And they both said that their religion is what told them to stop and help me. That's da'wah. Okay? Someone drops something on the ground, you pick it up for them. If you want, you could say, I picked this up because I'm Muslim. If you want. Wallahi, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Inshallah, do as much as you can. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want to ignore you. He would rather teach you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also revealed the verse to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. You got to imagine he was heartbroken when this happened. You cannot guide the ones that you love. You can't choose all the people you love and give them Islam. But it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that guides the people that He chooses. And that's why you've heard me say many times that it's always a privilege to meet a new Muslim. Because this is someone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen. There are millions of people out there in the world looking for the truth and they can't find it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't opened their hearts to Islam. For whatever reason. But some people, completely against their will, they come to Islam. They're not even looking into religion, don't even care about religion, but here they are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has orchestrated that they find their way to Islam, even if they don't want it. I actually met a guy who said, I feel like I was dragged kicking and screaming into Islam. Said I had no interest in religion, had no interest in anything like that, didn't care about it, didn't want to look into it, didn't want to read about it. I feel like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dragged me kicking and screaming into Islam. He said his shahada during Ramadan. Mark, his name was. The role of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is not to convert people, and your role is not to convert people either. Our job is da'wah. The Arabic word da'wah means invitation. Our job is to invite people to Islam. This lovely brother from the UMA, his name's Khalid, he's put it so beautifully. He said, our job is to show what Islam is on a silver platter. Here's a beautiful silver tray, and here's this thing called Islam. Would you like some? No. Would you like some? Yes. Would you like some? No. It's up to you. But our job is to show it. Our job is to put it forward, to offer it, to invite you to take some of it. And it's up to you. If you would like to take, you can take. If you don't want to take, that's okay. We've done our job. To deliver the message, we've done our job. We hope that you take it, but it's up to you. The role of the Prophet is not to convert, it's only to deliver the message. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is not accountable for the number of people that accept Islam. No Prophet is accountable for the number of people that accept. That's not how their success or failure is graded. Their job is to deliver the message. You deliver the message to everyone, you get full points. That's it. The guidance itself comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is dealing with this difficult tragedy. His uncle and father figure has passed away. Only 2 months later, another key figure in his life, his wife Khadija radiallahu anha, she also passes away, the most beloved person to him in his life. And he would continue to talk about her until the end of his life. Even one of his wives that he married later, her name is Aisha, she never met Khadija. Khadija passed away at this point. Aisha, who was Prophet Muhammad's wife years later, she would say, I have never been jealous of anyone except Khadija, even though she was already passed away. But the love that Prophet Muhammad had for her, it was still tangible even after her death. And she was quite young, she got a bit upset. She said to Prophet Muhammad, why do you keep talking about this woman Khadija? Wasn't she just some old woman and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you better than her anyway? See, there was jealousy back then too. She said, wasn't she just some old woman and Allah gave you better than her? Prophet Muhammad he said, no, by Allah, He has not given me better than her. So she was still the best. Still the best. So this year, because of these two deaths, because of the death of the Prophet's uncle, and the death of his wife Khadija radiallahu anha, this is called Aam al-Huzn, the year of sorrow or the year of sadness. That these two events happened in the same year. The two most influential people supporting his message were gone. Influential how? His uncle was supporting his da'wah externally. Prophet Muhammad himself wouldn't be harmed, wouldn't be attacked because his uncle was such a high up and respected noble figure of the Quraysh. People know this is the nephew of this guy. So he had this sort of political protection, you could say. Imagine the governor's son or the mayor's son. You would have that level of, ooh, be careful what you say to him. And his emotional support at home. When he had a difficult day with the da'wah, who would he go home and speak to? His wife. When he had the first encounter with the angel Jibreel and he was in a state of shock and he was shaking, who did he go and speak to? His wife. So he had his support outside the home in the form of his uncle, his support, emotional support in the home in the form of his wife, both of them gone in a span of 2 months. So this was called Aam al-Huzn. Although he still had the freedom to go around to people and spread the message, there was no longer anything preventing people from physically harming him in the street. Some say that there is wisdom from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these events happening at the same time to increase the tawakkul of the Muslims, to increase their dependence on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So instead of depending on political protection or emotional protection or other human beings, they would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for their help and protection. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Surah Al-Sharh, the opening. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Have we not expanded your chest and removed from you your burden, the thing that which did weigh down your back, and raised to high esteem which you are held? Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak alladhi anqadha dhahrak wa rafa'na laka dhikrak. And the next verses, which I think there's a slide missing, it says, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Truly, with every hardship there is ease. And then repeat it again, with every hardship there is ease. With every hardship there is ease. The same year something miraculous happened. And some say that this was a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Prophet Muhammad to counteract the sadness that the Prophet was feeling at the time. This is an amazing, miraculous, supernatural event called Al-Israa wal-Miraj, which means the night journey and the ascension. Al-Israa is traveling by night from Mecca to Jerusalem. Alif, can you Google distance between Mecca and Jerusalem for me? And Al-Miraj, ascending from Jerusalem to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in person. So let's go through. One of the companions, his name is Anas ibn Malik, he narrates the following hadith that tells us this amazing story. He said one day he was in the Hijr of Ismail.
Approximately 1,500 kilometers.
1,500 kilometers. From Mecca to Jerusalem, 1,500 kilometers. Okay? In a car, that would take you
6 hours.
If you do it 100 kilometers an hour, it'll take you 15 hours straight. If you're on a camel or a horse, a couple weeks maybe. He was in the Hijr of Ismail. If you see pictures of the Kaaba is a cube, and there's a little semicircle, little arc next to it. Between that semicircular arc and the Kaaba, this is called Hijr Ismail. Okay, so in Hijr Ismail means you're right adjacent to the Kaaba, right next to the Kaaba. He was in the Hijr of Ismail one day, and Prophet Muhammad said, the angel Jibreel came down to me and opened up my chest, open heart surgery, took out my heart and washed it in a basin made of gold, in a sink made of gold. He washed the heart, Prophet Muhammad said. That would be a pretty freaky thing to watch. Somebody open up your chest, take out your heart and wash it while you're observing. And the heart was washed with iman, belief, faith. Then I was presented with an animal that was smaller than a horse but bigger than a donkey, somewhere in between horse and donkey size. And I think in another narration it says with wings above its hind legs. This animal is called Al-Buraq. This animal moved so fast that one step for this animal was as far as it could see. Now think about that for a second. When you look up at the sky at night, what do you see? Stars. How far are those stars? Yeah. Hundreds of light years, millions of light years, I don't know. A long way away, farther than we could ever travel. This animal in one step would reach that star. So one step, it would be as far as it could see. That's the speed of this animal. So in modern day terms, many, many times faster than the speed of light. Many times faster than the speed of light. Jibreel, the angel Jibreel, led me and took me to Jerusalem. So if we're talking about this animal that travels faster than the speed of light, how long would it take to travel from Mecca to Jerusalem? Just be an instant. A journey that would normally take a few weeks. So he tied the buraq at the gate of the masjid, and he went into the masjid to pray 2 rak'ahs. Muhammad ﷺ turned around behind him to see all of the prophets and messengers that had come before standing in rows behind him, and he was leading them all in prayer of these 2 rak'ah. So imagine walking into a completely empty mosque, starting to pray 2 rak'ahs, hearing some commotion behind you, turning around, and how many prophets and messengers were there? 124,000. Turn around, and somehow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had placed those 124,000 prophets and messengers in rows behind Prophet Muhammad ﷺ praying those 2 rak'ahs. This is the distance that we're talking about. My slide says more than 2,000 kilometers, but Google is probably correct. Going from Mecca all the way up to Palestine, Jerusalem. Then I was led by Jibreel into the heavens. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is riding this flying horse. Sayyidina Jibreel is leading him up through the heavens. Where are they going? When they ascended to the gate of the first heaven, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the way, He said that there are 7 skies or 7 heavens. This is not heaven that you go to after you die. This is just 7 levels of creation, you could say. 7 skies. Samawat as-sab'a. He gets to a gate. And by the way, all the stars that exist are all inside the first heaven or the first sky. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that it's the first sky. I'm going to say sky so you don't get confused with heaven. The first sky is the one that's decorated with stars. The others aren't. So all of the stars and galaxies that all of our scientists have ever discovered, as far out as they can possibly see, all of that is contained within the first sky. So they reached the gate between the first sky and the second sky. They knocked on the door. The gatekeeper, who is an angel, he said, "Who is it?" Jibreel replied, "Jibreel." And they said, "Who is with you?" He said, "Muhammad." And they said, "Was he given permission to come here?" He said, "Yes." The gatekeeper said, "He is welcome and his arrival is a pleasure," and the gates were opened. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has now left behind the world of stars and planets. And now he is in some other place, some other level of creation.
So the levels of the sky and levels of heaven are different.
Yes. So there is Jannah, which is the Garden of Eden, which is where good people go after they die.
Yeah.
But there are 7 levels of creation, or 7 skies, or 7 zones. I don't want to use the word heaven because I don't want to confuse you. That this is what exists in the physical creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jannah itself is different. And Jannah has levels, but we're not talking about the same levels. Okay? It's confusing to say heaven. I'm not going to say heaven. So I'm going to say the 7 skies, and then when you die, you go to Jannah, which is heaven. Okay? I went inside into the second sky, and inside there was my father Adam, peace be upon him. Jibreel introduced me and said, "This is your father Adam. Greet him." And he said, "Assalamu alaikum." He replied with, "Wa alaikum assalam. Welcome to my pure son. Welcome to the pure prophet." Imagine Prophet Adam alayhi salam, the first human being ever, Adam from Adam and Eve, and he meets the person that he knows this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favorite human being out of all the billions of human beings who ever lived. This is Allah, this is the best one. This is Allah's favorite one. So he says, "Welcome to my pure son." This is a greater prophet than Adam himself, a greater human being than Adam himself. Would have been an awesome meeting. They may have wished to sit down and have a longer conversation. Jibreel then took Muhammad ﷺ to the gates between the second and the third sky, and the same conversation took place. "Who is it?" "It's Jibreel." "Who's with you?" "Muhammad." "Does he have permission?" "Yes." "Then his arrival is a pleasure." He went in there and met Jesus and Yahya, aka John the Baptist, the 2 cousins. And he exchanged greetings with them. Then moved up to the third sky and met Joseph. And he has been given half of beauty. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he created beauty, he created, imagine a big slab of beauty like this big, right? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cut it in half. And half of it he divided among all living things. So you've got some, 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 you've got some. I didn't get any. No. Everybody's got some in varying degrees. But then this whole other 50%, the entire 50% was put into Prophet Yusuf. So he was the most attractive man to ever live. You might be a fan of Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa's got nothing on Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. He's the most attractive human being to ever live. And by the way, inshallah, if and when inshallah we all get to Jannah, inshallah, everyone in Jannah will be as beautiful as, alhamdulillah, as beautiful as Sayyidina Yusuf. So the level of beauty of Sayyidina Yusuf is the level of beauty that everyone will have in Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remake your spouse, and everyone will have that level of beauty. Sayyidina Yusuf was so attractive that when the group of women were having a dinner party, they're holding something and cutting their food, and then the mistress of the house told him, "Yusuf, enter the dining room." And he walked into the dining room, and the women were like this, until they kept cutting, and they cut their own hands open because they were just so stunned. And they said, "There's no way that this is a human being. Must be an angel. This can't be a human being." So that's the beauty everyone will have. When you see your spouse in Jannah, you will stop and stare for 40 years. Before you speak, before you even hold hands, you will just stop and stare at each other for 40 years. You will be that stunned by the beauty that you're looking at. You won't be able to believe it. 40 years you will stop and stare. And eventually you might remember to say hi. In the fourth heaven, he met Idris. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Idris, and we have elevated him to a high status. The fifth level, Harun, Aaron, the brother of Moses. The sixth heaven, Musa alayhi salam. And his meeting with Musa was an eventful one. And we always find that Prophet Musa is intertwined with important events. By the way, Prophet Musa is the most often mentioned prophet in the Quran. The story of Musa is all over the Quran. One of the scholars said the Quran was almost going to be the story of Musa because he's mentioned so often in there. Musa started to cry after Muhammad ﷺ started to walk away from him. Muhammad ﷺ asked him, "Why are you crying?" He said, "A young man who was given prophethood after me, he will have more of his followers entering paradise than mine." Up until that moment, which was the prophet that had the biggest success in terms of bringing people to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It was Musa alayhi salam with the Bani Israel, the children of Israel. He was holding the high score at the time. And then a young man who came after him, named Muhammad ﷺ, he will have the most followers to enter paradise. Because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, his followers were not just in his lifetime, or were not just for a few hundred years. Already now we are 1400 years after, and we are the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And inshallah that will continue until the day of judgment. Because there are no more prophets that are coming. Muhammad ﷺ moved up to the seventh sky, and he said, "I went in and met my father Ibrahim, and we exchanged salams, and then I was shown Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur." What is Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur? This is a structure built for the angels that's the equivalent of the Kaaba for us. So here on earth we have the Kaaba and we go and do pilgrimage to the Kaaba, yes? And we go to the Kaaba and we walk around the Kaaba 7 times as part of the Hajj or Umrah rituals, yes? The angels in the heavens, they don't go to the Kaaba, they go to Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur. That's their Kaaba, you could say. So this is a structure built for the angels. Don't ask me what it looks like, I've never been. And they go there to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for them, they only go once in their entire existence. If they go once, they don't come back. Sorry?
Is this the heaven, like levels of heaven or sky?
Sky. We're not talking about paradise, Jannah at all at the moment. Cool? So it's visited by 70,000 angels every day, and those angels that come that day, they never come back. It's a fresh 70,000 the next day and a fresh 70,000 the day after. So that means in 1 year, it's visited by 255 million angels in 1 year. In 1,000 years, visited by 255 billion, 500 million angels in 1,000 years. Okay? Now, the earth is millions of years old, right? So for all those millions of years, in the past, 70,000 angels have been going every day. So if we're talking in 1,000 years, there's 255 billion angels. What about millions of years? So how many angels are there? Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said in a hadith, the heavens above you, not Jannah heaven, these 7 levels of heaven, the heavens above you are moaning, they're creaking, they're groaning. You ever walked across an old wooden floor? He said, the heavens above you are making that sound. Why? Because in every space the size of 4 fingers, in every space that's that size, there is an angel, either in ruku' or in sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout the whole place. And so the weight of all of these angels is putting strain on the fabric of creation. And it's making squeaking, groaning, creaking noises under the weight. And by the way, some of these angels that are in ruku' or sujood, they stay in ruku' or sujood for their entire existence. So I just want you to think about this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates this new angel. This angel immediately makes ruku' and stays in ruku' and doesn't move. Permanently. And then the day of judgment will come. The trumpet will be blown. And that angel that since the moment of creation was in ruku' or since the moment of creation was in sujood, that angel will say, "Oh Allah, we did not worship you as you deserve to be worshipped. We didn't do enough. We didn't do you justice, Ya Allah. We didn't do you justice. We fell short of worshiping you the way you should be worshipped, the way you deserve to be worshipped. We couldn't meet the mark." Now, this is what I want you to think about. The next time you feel that your salah is a chore, the next time you feel that you need to pray quickly because you need to catch your favorite show, or you need to get out to the movies, or whatever, any of the silly things that get on our mind. I want you to think about this. This is a living, thinking, intelligent, sentient creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That, as soon as it was created, it realized who its creator was and fell down in sujood. And didn't dare to stand up, not for fear of punishment, but out of a desire to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enough. They were, for their entire existence, trying to worship Allah enough so that it's worthy of what He deserves. And when the trumpet is blown, they will say, "Ya Allah, we didn't do enough. We didn't worship you enough. Our worship isn't enough for how glorious and magnificent you are. We fell short." Sorry. We fell short. So, how much of your life is in ruku' or sujood? How much of my life is in ruku' or sujood? How much of your life is in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how much of my life is in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't just mean ruku' and sujood. It also means da'wah. The service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you think it's a smooth road based on the stories of the prophets that we've talked about? It's not a smooth road. You will face the Fir'auns and the Abu Jahls that will oppose you and hate you and work against you. You will even face resistance from the Muslim community itself for trying to do da'wah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the one planning your road for you, bringing the right people to be around you. He will send you to the locations that you need to be. And you need to be able to go with the flow. Where Allah sends you, you go. Whatever work Allah sends your way, like wrapping the Jannah box, you do it happily. You thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity to do something to serve Him. Okay? Only Allah knows. Then Prophet Muhammad ﷺ reached a place called Sidratul Muntaha. All these names are so cool. I wish the Arabic would translate better. This is the end of these 7 skies. This is the end of these 7 zones of creation that are created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after this Sidratul Muntaha, this lote tree, I don't know what it looks like. This is a picture I found on Google. Okay, I didn't go there to take a photo for you. After this is the world of heaven and hell. So we have now gone further away from the earth and left all the stars and galaxies behind and went through another 6 levels, and now we have reached Sidratul Muntaha, and after that is the world of heaven and hell. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "I saw 4 rivers coming out of this lote tree, Sidratul Muntaha. 2 of these rivers are visible and 2 are invisible. The 2 that are visible are the rivers of the Nile and the Euphrates. The Nile and the Euphrates is in Egypt and in Iraq. And the other 2 are rivers of Jannah that you can't see until you reach in Jannah. So the rivers of the Nile and the Euphrates emanate from this lote tree. How does that work? I have no idea. Don't ask me stuff like that. I don't know. One day, after I die, maybe I'll tell you, inshallah. In terms of size, now we talked about these 7 skies. This one, I'm sure you've heard me say this a million times, but I just love saying it. In terms of size, the whole first sky, which includes all of the stars and galaxies that we can see, and we can't even see the end of that. Scientists have not zoomed out so far that they stopped seeing more stars and galaxies. Every time they zoom out some more, they see more stars and galaxies, right? If you imagine that the whole first sky, which we don't have numbers big enough to measure the first sky. We don't have numbers that big. If you imagine that all of that is this big, then the second sky is that big. If the whole first sky is this big, the second sky is as big as this desert, the Sahara Desert, compared in size to that. And the second heaven compared in size to the third heaven is also the same, the size of this ring to that desert. And the second to the third to the fourth to the fifth to the sixth to the seventh is all relative to that size. Now, here's the part that's going to blow your mind. The seventh, if the seventh was that big, the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that big. If the seventh sky was this big, the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that big. So can you see how small, how infinitesimally small the planet Earth is? And all of us that live on it, and we think we're the center of the universe? Do you see how ridiculous it is for a human being to think that they are superior to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And you can see why it's so offensive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The lowest level, the first sky, is what we're living in, and we have decorated the lowest heaven with stars. We cannot even see the end of that first heaven. Muhammad ﷺ reached the point, he's walking side by side the whole way so far with Sayyidina Jibreel, right? The archangel Jibreel. They reach a point, and Sayyidina Jibreel says to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he says, okay, you go on by yourself now. Where are they? Where are they standing? They've left all of creation behind, and now they're about to enter the world of heaven and hell. And your tour guide, the angel Jibreel, he says to you, okay, you go on by yourself now. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, is this where a companion leaves his companion? You're going to leave me here? Look where we are. You're going to leave me here? Jibreel, the angel Jibreel, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes as Shadidul Quwa, severe in strength. Allah is the one who describes Jibreel as being severe in strength. So how strong is Jibreel? Jibreel, if he raised his voice, the entire planet Earth would shatter. Jibreel has 600 wings, and if he unfolded one of those wings, it would cover the earth from the sun. Jibreel is massive and powerful. Can destroy planets, no problem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Sayyidina Jibreel said, from this point that we're stopping, if I go any further than this, I will burst into flames. I will burn. This is as close as I'm allowed to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the limit. My physical body can't handle to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than this. Has Sayyidina Jibreel, has he ever committed a sin? No. Has he ever disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put a limit that Jibreel can't come any closer than this. But who is allowed to go forward and be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the angel Jibreel? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Jibreel says, if you go, you'll be fine. If I go any further, the planet destroyer, Jibreel, if I go any further, my body can't handle. My body will be destroyed. I will die if I go any closer. This is as far as I can go. So Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ continues alone from this point. The angel Jibreel stands and waits exactly where he is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Muslims to pray 50 times a day when Muhammad ﷺ came into the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Muslims to pray 50 times a day. There's 24 hours in a day. If you had to pray 50 times a day, you'd have to pray every half hour. Day and night. And that would only get you 48, not 50. Muhammad ﷺ, he said okay, and he came back down, and as he's descending through the levels, he bumps into Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam again. Musa said, What has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded you? Muhammad said, 50 times a day we have to pray. Musa said, your people will not be able to do that. Sayyidina Musa has got vast life experience with the children of Israel, Bani Israel. Your people won't be able to pray 50 times a day. They're going to give you a very difficult time. I have tested people before you, and I have experienced the children of Israel for a long time. Go back and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it less. And you could see the different personalities here between Muhammad and Musa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, pray 50 times a day. Muhammad said, okay. Musa, if he was told to pray 50 times a day, he said, no, too much. Go and ask for a reduction. This is difficult. Muhammad followed the advice and went back and asked, Ya Allah, can you please decrease the load for us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, okay, make it 40. And he came back down, bumped into Sayyidina Musa again, said 40 is too much. Go and ask him to make it less. 40 is still too much. You're going to struggle. He went back, he asked him to reduce it to 30. And the same happened again, was reduced again to 20. The same happened again, was reduced again to 10. The same happened again, was reduced again to 5. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I will reduce it to 5, but I will still give you and your followers the reward of 50. So every prayer that you do is like 10. If you do that prayer well, it's like 10 well done prayers. If you do that prayer quick and sloppy, it's like 10 quick and sloppies. That's just the way it is. If you do one good one, it's like you've done 10. Do one bad one, it's like you've done 10. 10 bad ones. Even when it was 5, Musa alayhi salam, he said, this 5 is too much. Go and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for another reduction. Muhammad said, I am so ashamed, I'm so embarrassed to go and ask again. I've already asked to come from 50 to 40, 40 to 30, 30 to 20, 20 to 10, 10 to 5. I've already asked 5 times. I can't ask anymore. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been very generous now. It's getting ridiculous now, so we'll just leave it there. And you could see Prophet Musa alayhi salam was a very strong personality. He had a very similar personality actually to Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. They were both this very staunch, tough personality. Remember, Sayyidina Musa is the one who asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said, oh Allah, can I see you? Because Sayyidina Musa and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could speak directly. Musa would speak and he would hear a voice replying to him. It was direct communication that way. That was one of the miracles of Musa alayhi salam. One day he said, oh Allah, can I see you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you will not see me, but look at the mountain. He was standing next to a mountain. He said, but look at the mountain. If the mountain stays in its place, then you will see me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed himself or turned himself towards this mountain. This mountain, imagine a mountain in your mind, maybe a bit of snow on the cap, just completely collapsed and became flat earth. Right in front of the eyes of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. He's standing there, and this thing, I don't know if it shook, I don't know if it rumbled, I don't know if it felt like an earthquake, I don't know if it was quick, I don't know if it was slow, but once this mountain was there, and it just shrank and collapsed into the ground. What happened to Sayyidina Musa? He fainted. He saw that, and he fainted. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is demonstrating that if you can't even handle to see this mountain disappear, how are you going to handle to see the creator of the heavens and the earth? You can't. You can't cope with that. But as we see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed it to happen for Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come into the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Musa is the one who punched the angel of death in the face. One of my favorite stories of all time, man. I swear to God. No writer, no sci-fi can ever come up with stuff as cool as our real history that actually happened. You guys know this story? I feel bad for the angel of death, man. If you don't know, very quickly, the angel of death, it was time for Sayyidina Musa to pass away. The angel of death came, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given the privilege that some of the prophets, or maybe all the prophets, I don't know, can see the angel of death when it's time to come. So Sayyidina Musa, he saw the angel of death coming to take his soul, punched him in the face. As you do. The angel of death went and complained to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The angel of death went and said, your prophet punched me in the face. And Sayyidina Musa, when he punched the angel of death in the face, he told him, he said, I have a message for you to deliver to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at this guy. He said, go and say to your Lord, why does a friend wish to harm his friend? The angel of death went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, your prophet punched me in the face, and he said to tell you, why would a friend wish to harm his friend? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the angel of death back to Sayyidina Musa again. He arrived at Sayyidina Musa and he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied to your message and he said, doesn't the friend want to see his friend? All the prophets were the same in their da'wah, but they had very different personalities. And this is good news for you. Don't think that there is a da'wah personality. There's no da'wah personality. You can have the personality of Muhammad ﷺ, you can have the personality of Isa ﷺ, you can have the personality of Musa ﷺ, you can have the personality of Abu Bakr, and you can have the personality of Umar, you can have the personality of Hamza. But you must serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't give you this gift for you to keep it at home for yourself. You know what I'm saying? People going to Jahannam is a bigger problem than world hunger. Don't you agree? People going to Jahannam forever is a much bigger problem than people being hungry here in the dunya. Don't you think? Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He gave you the solution to world hunger, do you think He wants you to keep it for yourself or He wants you to go and do something with it? If Allah had given you the solution to world hunger, what do you think He wants you to do with it? Let everybody know. Go and share. What's the solution to world hunger? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He gave you Islam, He gave you the solution to people going to Jahannam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the solution for people going to Jahannam. The solution is here, this system of life called Islam. You can't remember all of it? Here's a book. We wrote it all down for you so you don't forget. You think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to pray at home, your 5 times a day, and consider it done? No. No, definitely not. You have a mission in your life to stop people from going to Jahannam in any way that you can. In any way that you can, you must present Islam on a silver platter. You must. Otherwise, don't claim that you care about anyone. Don't say to yourself, in the privacy of your own mind and heart, don't say that you care about your friends or your parents or your children. Don't say that you care about them. Be honest. If you cared about them, you would do da'wah and invite them to Islam. Or if they're not receptive to you doing da'wah, as sometimes difficult to do da'wah, say to our own parents, fine, facilitate that they're in a place to receive da'wah from someone or something else. Invite them to a talk. Send them a YouTube link. Give them a DVD. Take them with you to a public lecture. Do something. You can't say on the day of judgment that you did nothing. Maybe they will find you on the day of judgment and they will grab you and they will say, why didn't you say something? And what are you going to say? What are you going to say? You know someone, you work with them. Day after day after day you work with them. You never said a word about Islam. They show up on the day of judgment. They're naked. The sun is overhead. People are drowning in their own sweat. You knew all of this was happening. You didn't say. That's not fair, man. I'll tell you, honestly, I have lost friends because I refused to stop doing da'wah with them. And eventually they said, I don't want to be your friend. Just leave me alone. And I've said, no problem. Wasn't an easy decision. And by the way, I'm not saying be obnoxious and ram it down people's throats. I'm saying still be smart, be diplomatic, be tactful, try to find the best way. But if I have a friend in my life and they say, listen, don't do that with me, don't invite me to your way. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to know anything about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. It's none of my business. I'm faced with a choice. I'm faced with a choice. That person does not know what's in store for them in the hereafter. They have no idea how serious those words are that they just said. If I described Jahannam to them and they believed it, they would understand the seriousness of what they're saying. They don't understand the seriousness of what they're saying. So I can persist at the risk of losing the friendship, or I can leave them be. And sometimes I have done this, and sometimes I have done this. Where I have persisted, it's because I know they will listen even if they don't like it. And some have come around and been okay with listening to information about Islam after that, and some have said, listen, just leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with you. And I've said, no problem. Can that person find me on the Day of Judgment and say you didn't tell me? Definitely not. Can that person come to me and say, why didn't you say anything? I will say, I tried so much that it broke our friendship. I begged you to listen. I pleaded with you. I did everything I could do for you. Don't blame me, blame yourself. Do you know what I mean? But I sleep with a clear conscience. And wallahi, I don't miss any of those friendships anyway. What am I going to do with a friend who has no interest in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What am I going to do with that person? What are we going to talk about when we get together? What are we going to do with our spare time? This person is not getting me where I want to go. I don't have any ill feelings toward them. I don't hate them. I don't look down on them. But I'm trying to get somewhere. I'm trying for me, for my friends, for my students, for my wife, for my children to get somewhere. And really, failure is not an option. When you think about it, we're all trying to get to Jannah. Is failure an option? Is it okay if you get there, but it's okay if you don't get there? No, it's really not okay if you don't get there. It's really not okay if you don't get there. You have to get there. You have to do whatever you can to get there at any cost. And I know that sounds weird, but doing anything to get there means you will become a fantastic, amazing person. Doing anything to get to Jannah will make you a better person than you ever thought you could be. Doing anything to get to Jannah doesn't mean doing anything to get money, where stabbing people in the back and lying and cheating. No. Doing anything to get to Jannah means doing all the right things. Means being a perfect human being or striving to be a perfect human being. So, doing everything to get there will make you better. And I encourage you to do so. I don't know how much we have left. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ descended down through the levels on the Buraq home to Mecca over the Arabian desert. On the way back, he was flying overhead and he passed a caravan. He's looking down at the desert. He can see a caravan and he could see one camel by itself. He's looking down. He could see that caravan, they were looking for their lost camel. So he called down to them, he landed, and he said, your camel is over there. And they went and they found their camel exactly where he said, because he was looking from above. He made it back to earth on the very same night. Now, what kind of distances did he travel? There's 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers to Jerusalem, and then a billion, zillion, gajillion kilometers to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And came back on the same night. Because nothing is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He went to Ayman and told her what happened. She advised him not to tell people. Don't tell people what happened, because it'll be hard for people to believe. Nobody's going to believe this fantastic story. And the Muslims were already facing a lot of resistance and persecution from the Quraysh, and this would just give the Quraysh more things to criticize about Muhammad ﷺ. They already were saying that he was crazy for saying that he's talking to God. They're going to have a field day with this story. Nevertheless, the man who honestly told people that he was receiving information from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did exactly the same and went and honestly told people what happened. News of this reached our favorite supervillain, Abu Jahl. Muhammad was sitting in the masjid thinking about what's going to happen next. I've just told people of this amazing, fantastic story, and now the people were spreading the news to each other by word of mouth. I wonder what's going to happen next. Abu Jahl comes into the masjid, probably looking very smug, and he says, "Oh Muhammad, is there any news? Anything new happened, Muhammad?" Muhammad ﷺ said, "Yes, on this night I went to Jerusalem and back." That was impossible enough for them to believe. Abu Jahl said, "Jerusalem?" He said, "Yes." He said, "And if I call your followers, Muhammad, if I bring your Muslim followers here into the masjid, will you tell them what you just told me?" He said, "Yes." Abu Jahl went happily, skipping through the city, gathering everyone he could, saying, "Oh, you guys got to see this. You guys got to hear this. You're following this guy? Come and hear what he's saying now." And he brought people to fill the masjid. Some people started to laugh and clap and whistle and mock Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ when he told them what happened. But some of the wiser people that had been experienced travelers, they said, wait a minute, let's test this. Let's test this story. Some of the seasoned travelers that had been to Jerusalem many times, they said, describe for us the masjid in Jerusalem. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, I began to describe the masjid and then I found it hard to recall what it looked like. I mean, imagine he's just gone and met all these prophets and spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The details of a masjid probably not so important in his mind. When I found it difficult, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed me the masjid of Jerusalem right in front of me as if he was looking at a TV screen. And he started to describe it brick by brick, stone by stone. And the traveler said his description matched the masjid exactly. That is what Jerusalem looks like. He told the people about the lost camel and the caravan. And now remember, this is a day without mobile phones. So he said there is a caravan from that direction, north, and they lost the camel, and I landed, I told them where the camel was. They said, okay, we're going to see if you're lying. They sent out a rider on a horse into the desert. There's no mobile phone, you can't text anybody. So if he's telling the truth, this rider will go and confirm, or it won't happen. The people of the caravan confirmed what happened, and they heard a voice from the sky telling them where the camel was, and a man had landed and drunk from their container. The story of Israa and Miraj was difficult for some to believe, and for some new Muslims that had just entered Islam recently and haven't yet tasted the beauty of Islam. And some of them found it too difficult to believe and they left Islam after that. A few lessons. The chest of Muhammad ﷺ has been opened more than once. Remember, what was the first one? When he was 2. When he was 2 years old. This is the second time. Conversation between Prophet Musa and Prophet Muhammad based on Musa's experience with the children of Israel. When he left them for 40 days, he climbed the mountain and he left them for 40 days. He came back and they had made a statue of a calf and they were worshiping it. So he knows people are difficult. There is no command given to us in the heavens except salah. All the commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given came via the angel Jibreel into the words of the Quran. Except salah. Except salah. This is the status of the command of salah. Jibreel would normally convey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except salah, which was reserved for this special meeting. And with hardship comes ease. With hardship comes ease. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeated it twice. With the hardship of losing his uncle and his wife, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the ease of having this beautiful, amazing, supernatural experience with the angel Jibreel, with the traveling, with the meeting of the other prophets, meeting Adam, meeting Ibrahim alayhi salam, and praying as the leader, praying in front of 124,000 other prophets and messengers, solidifying Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as the best out of all of them. Whoever is the best is the one that should lead the prayer, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ led the prayer with all the other prophets following behind. Any questionnaires? Right on time. Alhamdulillah. Pretty cool, huh? Real life is much more interesting than science fiction. Forget the Avengers and the Marvel universe. This is much cooler stuff. All good, inshallah? Jazakumullah khair, guys. See you next time.